Hey everyone, and welcome back to Complimentary Mayhem. I'm Complimentary, and this is Mayhem.
Thought it was Mania.
I thought it was Mania too.
Well, this is the second episode.
And speaking of two,
We're talking about sequels. This is the sequel to our podcast. We're going to be talking about sequels.
it's the sequel to our podcast, the one episode.
The one
there.
episode that's there right now.
Hell yeah.
We're going to be talking about sequels today. Tommy, you were more prepared than I was for this.
I love just all forms of media. I was fucking hyped to talk about this.
Okay, well, we should probably start out with the main one we went with. We could kind of, at least us two, universally agree that the best sequel out there by far is Shrek 2.
I mean, there is no question. Shrek 2 might just be the best.
It's so well made.
The pinnacle of human achievement was Shrek 2.
I would definitely sec Shrek.
Not landing on the moon, Shrek 2. Pinnacle of human achievement.
Yeah,
Are you talking human Shrek or ogre Shrek?
Oh, you know which one.
Ogre Shrek.
Ogre
Ogre
Shrek.
Shrek.
So, what makes this particular sequel stand out from the rest, and why is it better than its predecessor?
Well, so Shrek 1 did a lot of really neat and subversive things, but at the end of the day, it was a pretty simple spin on a love story fairy tale thing.
So Shrek 2 follows a very normal plot between, two lovers trying to overcome obstacles and end up in their happily ever after. But what it does do very well is establishing these characters and making us understand how they behave. And it really sets the stage for the second, where we see them actually encounter true trifle.
Okay, I gotta stop you there. You said Shrek 2.
Yeah, it sets the stage for Shrek 2.
Shrek 2 sets the stage for Shrek 2.
Shrek 1 sets the stage for Shrek 2.
There you go. It's okay. We all have those moments sometimes.
Demeanor.
Like Chase.
Chase. We gotta stop talking about him. We're gonna make him mad. Sorry, Chase.
Sorry, Chase. He's not listening.
Not that Chase.
Oh. Sorry, mathematician who's into boar named Chase.
This is too early to make callbacks. We can't do this. We gotta stay focused. So
Shrek 2.
Shrek 2.
I think personally, one of my favorite things about it is it manages to tell both the hero's and the heroine's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, super cool. Because they're different, right?
Yes.
A heroine can go on a more male hero's journey, but probably the best example of each is, Beauty and the Beast is a great example of the heroine's journey, and probably Luke from Star Wars is a good example of the heroes. Where, the heroine's journey is a lot more about sort of finding someone and taming them, and the hero's journey is sort of going out there and doing something really impressive, and then coming back, and it benefits people. Mm-hmm. In a nutshell, it's a very nuanced and very broad topic. There are a bunch of people way more competent at explaining it than me. But I like that Fiona goes on a heroine's journey and Shrek goes on a hero's journey, and it manages to juggle both of those. Mm-hmm. Where not only does Fiona successfully tame the beast, but also Shrek gets to go out and do something and bring it back, and it benefits people. It's a really neat dichotomy that they've got going that doesn't happen in almost any kind of story.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't lean too far into one or the other. And another thing that I can really appreciate from the movie is when we get to see Fiona's parents, and we get to see their dichotomy, because in a way, kind of throughout the movie, Shrek and Harold act the exact same way.
But
you see
in the opposite direction.
Exactly. You see this pretty much when they first meet up. As they're talking, it cuts back and forth, and they eventually meet up at the bottom of the stairs in front of the king's castle. But even after they tame down, trying to make amends after they upset their partners through their very odd behavior at the dinner table, they both try.
They were just hungry, okay?
They were just hungry, bro. But that was something really cool to see. And I'm glad that it carried out pretty much throughout the whole movie.
It occurs to me we should probably give, spoiler warnings for Shrek 2. But if someone hasn't seen Shrek 2, if you haven't seen Shrek 2, just stop whatever you're doing. Don't care if you're at work, don't care if you're driving there, don't care if you're going home. Just watch Shrek 2. It's $4 on YouTube.
It's $4 to rent. That's a ripoff. Pirate it or something.
Don't encourage piracy. That's illegal.
I love pirates. But
Yar.
you should at least acquire it legally. You can dress up as a pirate if you want while you're watching it.
Legally pirate Shrek 2.
Legally pirate it by giving money. You can still dress up like a pirate though. Go to your disc replay or whatever and say "Yar, Shrek 2."
Well, that got off track.
Yeah, if you're driving home, I don't care what weather it is outside, pull over and watch Shrek 2
Agreed.
on like your phone.
And if you're at work, looks like you broke your leg, gotta go watch Shrek 2.
I'm sure the infirmary has a TV in there somewhere.
Probably.
Anywho,
so Shrek 2, something that just absolutely slaps, the soundtrack. The soundtrack in original Shrek, I think, was like almost as good, maybe even better, but the way they used the soundtrack in Shrek 2 is like so nuts.
yeah, the song choice as well as some of even the sound effect choices are really, really good. I know it was kind of subtle when Shrek and Fiona had arrived in town and they were walking up to the king and queen. They could have, how the crowd went silent after looking at them, they could have just put like the classic crickets chirping or just complete silence, but they had a baby crying. And it almost makes it feel more genuine, I guess. Like the baby's weeping at the sight of these unghastly green ghouls.
Unghastly? Meaning they're not ghastly?
They're not ghastly.
I mean, Shrek is pretty hot.
He's pretty gassy. That was so bad.
You know, part of me wants to cut that out, but part of me wants to leave in this discussion about cutting that pun out.
We won't cut it out. We only cut gas here.
No, we cut cheese. You and I are not the same.
Shrek 2. Shrek 2.
Shrek 2. What do you think about the villain? I think the fairy godmother's way stronger than Lord Farquaad.
Easily. Lord Farquaad kind of just felt like some greedy guy that was just like, I'm going to manipulate my people who I rule over like a dictator.
He was a lot more like an obstacle than necessarily an antagonist.
Yeah. Shrek didn't necessarily have to outthink him. He just kind of went with it. Like, Lord Farquaad was like, oh, well, I'm going to take the princess for myself. And Shrek was like, well, fine. She doesn't love me. And then he figures out that she does. And he's like, all right, well, I'm going to just go get her back. Lord Farquaad doesn't necessarily plan around that. He just has guards and stuff.
While we're on the topic of talking about canon in Shrek 1, I have to ask this. If Farquaad actually successfully got with Fiona, what would have happened with Prince Charming?
That's actually a really good point, because they were destined, at least by the fairy godmother, to be together.
Yeah, like, would the fairy godmother have made Harold's kingdom go to war with Farquaad? Did Shrek save the kingdoms from war?
I guess so. See, the thing is, we don't get a clear time span.
We don't know the time frame here. We need more geopolitical information on what's going on with Farquaad's kingdom and Far, Far Away.
We also don't know how far away Farquaad's kingdom is from Far, Far Away.
I'll tell you. It's far, far away.
No, it's far, far away. Well, it's 700 miles out from Shrek's swamp, and we don't see any of the reoccurring biomes, so to say, that we see in Shrek 1. So we can assume it is at least partly out of the way.
War would be difficult, but not impossible.
I'm really just trying to think it over, because we don't really see much of any of Prince Charles in the first movie. What would have happened?
Did you just say Prince Charles?
Prince Charles, Prince Charming.
Oh my god. Prince Charles.
Prince Charles.
My
He looks like a
favorite
Charles
Shrek
guy.
character.
Charles Charming.
Charles as Charming.
No, they probably would have had war over Fiona, simply put.
It's a funny way to look at it. We don't deserve Shrek.
We don't deserve Shrek. He's too wholesome.
Too wholesome.
Based.
Shut the fuck.
Red-pilled average Redditor. Shrek's swamp house. Average Redditor's house.
So, while we're gushing about Shrek 2, can we talk about the ending? Specifically the Mongo I Need a Hero sequence.
It's symbolic that the hero's coming to save the princess, and just the way that the jump cuts and the animation is played out, as well as the song choice, obviously, is just perfect. I don't think there would have been a better way to end the film.
I like how the music like stops and swells at certain points too.
Like it calms down when there's like short dialogue happening, and then it swells up when there's like some intense action happening.
And it mixes a bunch of different genres too. Like Mongo's steps sync up with like some weird dubstep track that's going on in the background, but when Puss is like sacrificing himself to buy time, it's like opera music for some reason.
Yeah, it's they could have just stuck this like the same old song in there, but no, they actually changed it up to change the mood for what was occurring.
They could have even like gone full generic and just played like some sort of hero track, like I don't know, Endgame music, but for $5.
Fiverr finale.
Fiverr finale. They could have. But they like went the extra mile. They got like a song. They got a unique cover of the song too. They sunk the animation up so well. It's so good.
It's so good, and it conveys the message of looking past appearance and all that to just find the person that you love for who they are pretty well. It follows that throughout the entire story. It doesn't abandon it, and it certainly gushes over it in the end. It's a very, very heartfelt moment.
I do have a question at the ending, though. So, when you drink the potion, your true love also turns into that, like, happily ever after version.
We're not talking about the dragon, are we?
We are, okay? Donkey gets the dragon pregnant. It's canon. The dragon is pregnant during the events of Shrek 2. That's why she's being moody and she kicks him out, okay? When Donkey drinks the potion and turns into a stallion, what the fuck did the dragon turn into? If the dragon's happily ever after version of Donkey was a stallion, what was Donkey's happily ever after version of the dragon?
The thing is, we don't really have enough context in the actual movie to decipher that, because Prince Charles, or yeah, I'm going to keep on calling him Charles.
Charles.
His name was canonically Charles S. Charming. Prince Charming.
Monsieur Chuck.
Prince Charming enters the castle at the beginning of the movie, talking about enduring blistering sands and blistering storms, scorching deserts, that bullshit. And he gets to the castle, and there's no dragon. It's all quiet. He just peacefully ascends the stairs, only to be met by the wolf. But the thing is, there's something very important missing from the castle, and that is the dragon. Where'd the dragon go?
Where is the dragon for the events of the movie? The Shrek lore gets deep.
It does get deep, because it's not like it's some smaller creature. Like, if Donkey went missing, obviously we would notice it, but to the other, like, outside of, like, Shrek and the people he knows well, no one would notice him missing, because he's a donkey. Like, if, like, the townspeople want to just go, hey, it's Donkey. No, they wouldn't, because they don't recognize him like that. If Shrek was missing, the people would probably be happy, but they would actually take notice to it, you know?
I guess people don't check for the dragon, though. Like, you just sort of assume it's there.
I guess, but we just don't see it. That's the thing. So, where did it go? Because this was before the potion was drank. It obviously transformed.
Into
we don't know
what?
into. Okay, the only way you can answer that question is, what do you think Donkey finds the most attractive?
So, if the dragon really likes a stallion for whatever reason, that's just, like, more attractive Donkey, right?
I guess, but...
So, if Donkey is sexually attracted to dragons, I'm imagining just thicker dragon.
I guess? Thicker dragon? I don't know if this is a good discussion to have. Thicker dragon... What's above a dragon? Because a stallion's above a donkey, right? In terms of overall mass, you know, strength, looks, I guess, to a horse fucker.
Ah, yes, to a horse fucker.
That's what the dragon was. Donkey fucker, but...
That dragon was
wanted
working for that double D. Donkey dick.
Well, what's above a dragon, Tommy?
Nothing. Like, they fly, they breathe fire, they're the apex of the food chain, like, the apex of the food chain. That's a real sentence I just said.
That's a real sentence. I don't feel bad about calling Charming Charles anymore.
You really should. That's so much worse.
It's so fun. He looks like a Charles.
Does he?
Yes.
Every Charles I know is, like, awkward as fuck. And not the type of guy who'd, like, be a diva and spin a rose with his tongue.
That's fair. He knows how to spin a rose with his tongue. He can't do anything else with it, but he can do that.
I'd imagine he's bad at every other use for the tongue, but he can spin a rose.
He can spin a rose. So, the dragon. What does it turn into? It has to turn into something else.
Maybe because a stallion would be, like, more, like... it would work better for the... It's more compatible with the dragon. Maybe the dragon would become more compatible with donkey, and it gets, like, smaller and also more thick.
So are we talking like... I don't know. Are we talking like a wyvern?
Got it.
Sorry, wyvern.
Please, don't say that.
Some people call it wyvern.
Some people say GIF.
Some people say GIF. To you guys out there, that's peanut butter. Shut up.
We can't just keep dropping these, like, debates mid podcast, okay? Like, last episode it was water's wet. This episode it's the GIF debate.
It's GIF, guys. Moving on to the horse fucker. So, what does it turn into?
I'm guessing a dragon that's slightly smaller, but, like, more attractive to donkey.
So just a really curvy wyvern.
Yes.
Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, we can move back to just talking about Shrek 2 and not sexual compatibility between animals.
What was the best joke of the film?
The best joke? Honestly, most of the jokes that were actually funny were the ones that weren't even said. Like, the facial expressions were perfect.
Little bit of subtlety takes you a long way.
Honestly,
but that was such a dodge. Give me an actual joke.
Okay. Honestly, it was when they go into the bar and Donkey, who was a stallion, gets asked why the long face, and he just gives that light skinned stare.
That was pretty good. Very subtle too. Like, you don't pick that up on the first watch.
No. Again, like, most of the humor, the jokes are good. But when there's certain situations, like, for example, in the carriage, when Donkey is annoying the hell out of Shrek, you can see Fiona's face, like, scrunch up as he's about to, like, pop his mouth. And it's honestly more funny to see that compared to just Shrek going...
Very descriptive.
Any input on that?
Yeah, Shrek does go a couple times.
Lore.
The best joke, though, was definitely... Wow, we're really in it for the puns tonight. But, you remember when they're about to drink the potion, and Puss says, "You still look like an ass to me"?
Oh, yeah. DreamWorks was riding thin ice on that joke.
Because Donkey still looked like a donkey. He still looked like an ass.
Still looked like an ass. And again, even in that scene, you could see, like, the facial expression. It's just really funny to see him scrunch up his face and get upset at that.
It was pretty nice.
You think we pretty much got Shrek covered. It was very funny. It was very good. And it was a very thematic experience all at the same time.
Honestly, I could talk about Shrek for hours, but we should save that for when we have more viewers.
We should.
So,
later episode.
Stick around.
We'll
wink,
keep you guys in check.
I have to audibly wink, or they won't know I'm winking at them. Wink.
We'll go back and forth on this one. Since we've been talking about sequels, we should talk about other sequels, good, bad, or perhaps whole series as a whole.
I picked 3 sequels out, and all of them, the trend is sequels better than the original. Okay. So, you know, we'll lead with you, and we can bounce back and forth.
Right, we'll lead with me. So I chose, for mine, I chose a sequel that is good, in my opinion. A sequel that is bad, also in my opinion. Also kind of fact. And then I chose a series. It's a video game series. It's not a movie series, but
Start with the series.
Start with the series? Okay.
Series X. Xbox.
You couldn't find the series on Xbox, I'm sorry, but you could find it on PlayStation. It's it's the God of War series.
Oh, so this is definitely the bad one.
No. God of War is such an amazing series, and we especially see character development and plot build-up between 3 and 4. I mean, quite obvious, given the time gap between when those games came out, as well as all the changes we see between God of War 3 Kratos and God of War 4 Kratos. How much more reserved he becomes, knowing that he has to take more responsibility for his son, but also trying to bond with him while pushing his past behind him. But ultimately having to give in and show his dark side in order to grow closer to his son.
Yeah, I mean...
It's quite the stark contrast from the blood-crazed, constantly mad, and
horny.
Very horny Kratos that we saw in the past 3 games. Granted, he grew less horny. He did grow less horny. He grew a lot less... He just grew more angry and pushed the rest of his emotions out. Like, it seemed like every time he killed a god, his emotions only consumed him more. And by the end of God of War 3, he was a mess.
I mean, yeah, I guess they were telling different stories between them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think God of War 4 is less an example of a good sequel and more an example of how to do a reboot correctly. Where you, like, take the character and in a loving fashion, you're like, okay, we already explored one facet of, like, what this character's capable of in a narrative sense. Let's go somewhere else, you know? They went from, like, hardcore action movie to, like, sort of a more slow burn style of film, if I were to give it genres, you know?
I think they did a really good job in the gameplay where they kind of tried to tune it to where it's not too different, but it feels slower paced at the same time. It still has that God of War like taste where it's like really smooth and you're mowing down like hordes of enemies. I wouldn't say hordes, but you're fighting multiple enemies at the same time, similar to how you would in the previous games. But the narrative is strikingly different. It is an experience. I won't go on too long because we have
Hold on, I do have to ask something you touched on earlier though, and that was you said there was a lot of character development between 3 and 4, and I'd argue no, there wasn't. It was sort of like 3 and 4. The difference between the two is probably one of the most classic examples of a time gap. Like they just skipped a bunch of time. There wasn't much development that happened. Kratos is just way different when we see him in 4. You know, I'd like a God of War 3.5.
If anything, it's almost best that there isn't, because we get to interpret what happened to change him. And in a way,
what happened to change him.
We kind of already got that. He had a kid.
No, he met a chick.
He met a chick and had a kid.
So his last wife was like one of the only people who could calm him down. That's why when he was tricked into killing them, it was such a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
His new wife, who's also dead now.
Feel bad for my homie.
Yeah, rip Kratos. Rip Kratos' girlfriends.
Don't date Kratos. Something bad might happen.
As an aside, never date Kratos. But, you know, she calmed him down. Just all that happened. Chilled him out.
Yeah. He hasn't really had anything other than that to calm him down. But at least now he has boy. Boy. He has Atreus. Atreus. Are
you just dead set on, like, absolutely butchering every name tonight? You've got Charles and Atreus. Who the fuck are you talking about?
I like calling them that because it makes people mad. It's funny. Those intrusive thoughts of one. But Atreus, he seems to have a way of calming Kratos down. We won't dwell too much on it because Shrek was kind of our main point here. And we have so much more to cover with the short time we have.
You want me to trade off?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. All right, so my first, you led with a video game. I'm gonna throw it right back. And the theme for all mine is, these are better than their previous ones. It's a sequel that's an improvement. Kind of like what we're trying to do with this episode of the podcast.
Yeah, it's better than the last one. At least,
thematic.
I think.
My first shot's gonna be Baldur's Gate 2.
Baldur's Gate 2.
Now, for the 3 people out there that know what Baldur's Gate is, bear with me for a second. I'm going to explain to the noobs, and also Trevor.
I played it for like 5 minutes, and I got Minsk killed in the third encounter. It was like, bro,
You gotta be very strategic.
it's such a cool game, but it's kind of like trying to operate it through a
Let's-
submarine controller.
Let's explain it, okay? It's one of those old-fashioned top-down, third-person strategy games where you have to pause and start the game, and people perform actions that you've readied while the game's paused. It operates on an old-school D&D style rule set, so if you're not familiar with that rule set, the gameplay is going to be a little hard because you don't know what any of the things do. And also, the interface is very tricky. There's a bunch of shortcuts and buttons that are hidden.
Confusing.
Like
oh my god.
the long rest button is this tiny little option above your ability bar. So like no one knows how to take a long rest for the first like 6 hours of gameplay
I
guaranteed.
also felt really stupid when I was first playing it because I did the long rest to heal my guys, and then I saw that the screen went gray, and I thought, oh, I just have to click it again, and I didn't realize it was just because it was nighttime, so I long rested 2 times in a row.
Yeah, fun. But so Baldur's Gate 1, great game, love it. There's nothing wrong with Baldur's Gate 1. Well, it's aged. It's aged a lot, but there's very little wrong with Baldur's Gate 1.
They both have aged, but they're good.
The thing is, Baldur's Gate 2 is a sequel that improves upon it so much. Because Baldur's Gate 1, it's sort of like you and your adopted sister, you have to leave a library you were raised in. And spoilers, the game's older than both of the people talking, but yeah, obviously spoilers for everything we talk about here. Turns out, you're a demigod. Your dad was the god of murder.
Based.
And you have to fight one of your brothers. And that's where the game leaves off. The plot's not super coherent, though, because most of it is more about the journey than the destination, which is why I don't think the spoiler really matters to the game a lot. It's just how it climaxes. Sort of the real game is you going around and you finding these wacky characters and getting into fun situations. Like, there's a fighter that can join your party, and she is a petrified Valkyrie from, like, 300 years ago. You
That's
just
cool.
find her statue in a circus, and if one of your clerics knows a greater restoration spell, you just have a high-level fighter in your team now.
That's cool.
She gets you into awkward situations because she doesn't know, like, any traditions and things like that.
Kind of like bringing a caveman to, like, current day.
Well, not quite. She's way more civilized than Caveman, but similar.
1800s, dude.
Anywho, Baldur's Gate 2, on the other hand, is like a really tight narrative experience with like 3-act structures. There's still wacky side quests, wacky characters. Like, one of everybody's favorite characters is a bear. His name's Wilson. We all love him. Anyone who's played the game loves Wilson.
I thought Wilson... Sorry, Winston was a monkey. You said Wilson, and I thought of the monkey from Overwatch. It was like, that's not Wilson. I'm gonna butcher everyone's names today.
I guess so. Baldur's Gate 2 is a huge improvement because you start off at a higher level, so there's more shit for you to do. Right off the bat, your character has like a build and a kit going. You start off with a party of like really colorful and fun characters. Like, there is not a bad character in the bunch. Well, some people don't like Jaheira, but I think she's cool. And Imowen does whine a bit. That's your adopted sister. But, you know, worse things. There's not a bad one in the bunch. There are just some ones that don't quite hit. And you get to take all these characters, and you go on a very, like, contained, very fun adventure where you get to explore the city of Baldur's Gate that the game's named after. Mm-hmm. And also, there's an act in the Underdark that's really fun. The whole thing is just such an improvement over the first one in almost every way. And the first game is one of my favorites, so it's really hard to top that.
Yeah, sounds pretty cool. I wish I knew more about it, but
We're going to do another episode on Baldur's Gate 2 after Trev has beaten his first run.
it's gonna be so long.
That's what she
I
said.
gotta figure out how to run that submarine. Okay, so my turn.
Mm-hmm.
For my bad sequel,
Oh,
and
boy.
we can kind of consider the series as a whole, open season.
Why? Why are we talking about open season?
Because we're talking about sequels, and that sequel is bad.
Which one?
All of them. Actually, just the series as a whole. Open Season 1 was at least kind of good. It was good until Boo got dropped into the forest and, like, had to run around with the stupid idiot man deer.
I always forget, like,
the characters are dry and forgettable.
so I watched Open Season about the same time I watched Over the Hedge. So I always forget who the antagonist is, and I always
Bruh.
imagine Boo getting hustled by that bear with the cooler that the raccoon from opens.
I mean, to be fair, there's technically two bad guys from Over the Hedge. There's the funny balding man, and then there's the bear. We aren't talking about Over the Hedge because it doesn't have a sequel, and it is also good.
No.
I like Over the Hedge. I thought it was a pretty cool movie.
Hot take, Over the Hedge is dumb.
We'll talk about this in a different episode.
We're promising so much right now.
We're promising so much. That's okay. We'll spit fire about Over the Hedge on a later episode, but we have to talk about Open Season right now.
Right. That's the one with the funny deer and the...
Don't call him funny. He's anything but funny.
Sorry. That's the one with the unfunny deer
The one with the unfunny deer.
and Boo the bear.
Boo the bear. The best character, but that's not saying a lot.
He cleared the bar, and the bar was underground.
It's like me clearing a bar, but the bar is actually the sewage pipe running under the town.
You made it.
I made it over. I didn't even know I did, but I did. That's what Boo does in terms of character. Honestly, the first 15 minutes of the film is actually pretty good.
Of the first film, we're talking about
Of
sequels,
the first film. The sequels, we'll get into those, but
No. We're talking about sequels, man.
we have to compare to the first movie.
I mean,
That's what we did for Shrek.
It is what we did for Shrek, but
So
the first movie of Shrek's actually fun to talk about.
it is, and there's actually like 15 minutes of good stuff to talk about in the first one. I'll have to put it out there. He never shows up again, and it really upsets me because he's a great character. The antagonist Shaw, the hunter dude out in the middle of the woods, the crazy guy that walks in
Sorry,
and is like,
did you just call
His
call
name-
that man a good character?
he's not good in the sense that he's a good guy. He's good in the sense that he's interesting, unlike everyone else in the movie.
Is he really?
First off, the voice acting for him is really good.
Wow, you and I watch different films, man.
You gotta take what you can out of these bad movies and just appreciate the good. And in Open Season, that was Shaw. And also just like establishing the human world for this talking bear. Granted, no one can understand him. Only other animals can, oddly enough. Other animals speak bear and also each other's languages, but humans can't understand them, and they can understand humans. It's weird. It's not explained very well
The
either.
world building in Open Season is
The world building for the human part is good. The outside, not so much.
Sorry, did you just give props for them getting the real world correct? It's like giving an artist that's like giving a painter props for taking a photograph and saying, "Hey, he got the background right."
I gotta give them something. Because I don't have much else to say. It's just bad. The humor's dry. The characters are forgettable. Like, once Boo gets dropped off into the forest because of the stupid idiot man deer, they just walk through the forest and encounter these random characters, and then they break the dam, and then everyone's sad. And then Shaw tries to hunt them with the other hunters because it's open season. The funny, it's the title of the movie. And then there's like this quote-unquote war between like 20 hunters and then like the wildlife that we've met so far that we're very, tied to. We feel for them greatly because we've had so much meaningful character development with them, and they fight with a bunch of wacky camping gear, and of course the animals win. And then the wildlife ranger, I don't remember her name. She was kind of forgettable. But the one that owned Boo, she offers to take him back after seeing what he had done, and he decides to stay in the forest for some reason with the stupid idiot man deer and the rest of the stupid idiot animals. So that's Open Season 1. The sequels are so much worse. In Open Season 2, it's just the same minus the human interaction. So it's just these animals just doing random stuff that doesn't advance the plot really. Elliot's having trouble with his relationship. But the only thing that they add is there's these dogs, and then one of the dogs gets kind of connected to the animals, and then the animals want to go save him. I haven't watched Open Season 2 in a while, but I remember it. That's how I remember the plot. They go try to save the dog from a water
Isn't
park.
one of the dogs like a violent dictator because he got castrated?
Yeah.
Like he didn't
get castrated.
No, he's sitting there fiddling with two metallic balls because he doesn't have his own, and like he loses them at one point and goes Super Saiyan.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember that. If anything, I just remember it because he got like shaved because it was like a poodle or something. I don't remember, but basically he was just mad and he wanted all the other pets to attack the animals in the water park. And it was another wacky fight scene to end it, and woo, they got the dog back. Dog want to hang out with him. Woo.
I love that in the open season universe, a fucking poodle is bear tier somehow.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far in depth with the third. The third, they just go to a circus, more forgettable characters.
We can just
more
pretend
random
that
action.
didn't happen.
Let's act like that. So, your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. Fuck. Kung Fu Panda 2.
Kung Fu Panda 2.
Like I said,
Oh
the
my God.
theme is sequels that are better than the previous. And you know what? Kung Fu Panda 1, one of my favorite movies. Jack Black fucking slaps. The plot, awesome. The dragon scroll at the end, spoiler alert, there is no secret ingredient. It's just you.
That was in the first one.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda 1. Awesome. Loved it. Great movie. The second one, on the other hand...
The second one is just glorious. I remember watching it as a kid. Oh my God.
Can you name a more hype moment in film, other than the end of Shrek 2, obviously, than Poe catching the bullets?
Poe standing like on the remains of a battleship, and he's just channeling his inner badass, and he just catches the fucking firework cannonball and just skadoosh, and he just swings it back straight through the cannon hole and blasts the dude's ship up.
You know what? Let's just piss some people off in the comments. If Goku fought Poe, that's exactly what Poe would do to the Kamehameha. He would just catch it and skadoosh it back.
I'm not going to contribute. Goku fans, sorry.
Not sorry.
Poe would win, but but I'm sorry. He would just fling the Kamehameha back. Simple as that. But for real, Kung Fu Panda 2, it was a really emotional movie too. The turmoil that that Poe went through in Kung Fu Panda 2, through like I'd say the second third of the movie.
Yeah, like the pandas. We found out what happened to them.
Yeah,
where all the pandas went.
We get to read into his emotional damage and watch him overcome it, and it's done in a really cool and mature way with the soothsayer. Like, easily one of the best parts out of the movie is when Poe is recovering in that like random bamboo hut next to the river.
Yes.
And the soothsayer's taking care of him. That is easily one of the best moments. Like,
it is
in all films.
Well,
ever.
I mean, I'll grant you that. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
It is a solid and very heartfelt moment, but I gotta say, like, the climax is so good.
The climax is just awesome. Especially the sound design.
Oh, yeah.
The choice of music for that part.
The lighting is so good.
The lighting's good. Everything about that part is good. If I were to watch it again, I would find it very hard to believe that it came out, about 10 years ago? Like, the amount of effort that was put into making that movie look as good as possible. It's
Kung Fu Panda 2 is 10 years old, man. That makes me at least 12.
We're at least 12, guys. We figured out our 12. Age.
I think I can count that high.
We have fingers. We went
two,
over this last time we were talking about math.
4.
We're not talking about
5.
math again.
Why don't you talk about your next sequel then?
Okay. So my last choice for a good sequel, I chose the live action film Scooby-Doo 2.
Oh no. Okay.
What do you say?
What?
Oh no.
Sure. I mean, it's C tier. It's not bad.
It's C tier. I just think maybe it's just the nostalgia for me, but they brought back all of these classic villains that we've seen between the Scooby-Doo animated episodes, and we get to see them in live action. And they're not just there just because. There's a reason for them to be there. This evil dude, he's reanimating, or she, spoilers.
No, it's a he.
Oh yeah, because now I remember.
It's a trap.
Yeah,
it's a trap.
They peel off the mask, and it's that reporter lady. And then they peel off the mask again, and it's that... Yeah.
Remember the guy in the van who shouts out, "But we cuddled!"
But we cuddled. I know.
Anyone who hasn't seen Scooby-Doo 2 is just so confused, so I'm going to catch them up to speed, okay?
Go ahead.
So, the movie... It starts off, all these old costumes are coming back to life. Well, they're coming to life. Mm-hmm. They were never really alive.
We don't really get an explanation except for halfway through the movie.
The costumes turn into real monsters. The Scooby-Doo gang has to take down the real monsters and figure out who is animating these things.
Essentially, they finally open the museum to, like, these villains that the mystery gang has caught. But just out of nowhere, they become reanimated. They start trashing the place. Everyone gets scared, runs away. And this evil dude with a weird metal mask threatens to kill everyone.
Regardless, by the end of the movie, they catch the dude in the mask, and they pull the mask off, and it's this female reporter that's been twisting their words in the news and making them sound really bad. And they're like, we weren't expecting that. And then they pulled off the mask again. There was a second mask. A mask under the mask. Maskception, if you will.
Mask 2.
We're not talking about the Mask 2. It's a different episode.
We'll talk about Mask 2 later, too. A lot of obligations to make now.
At least two.
At least 2.
Anywho, the female reporter mask gets peeled off, and it's this old guy they captured a long time ago for making a pterodactyl suit and trying to scare people off to lower property values. The reporter's assistant, the female reporter's assistant, is so horrified by this, he shouts, "But we cuddled!"
Yeah, the dude cuddled an old guy. Get roasted.
Dude.
It was pretty funny.
The guy could have made so much money if he, just went into makeup or Hollywood effects.
Could have. No, dude just had to reanimate dead dudes.
I mean, they weren't dead. They were just costumes.
They were costumes.
They're just animated costumes. But not in the animation way, in the bringing to life way. If he animated costumes, I don't think there would have been a plot. Oh no! Fan art! What will we do?
That makes me wonder. All the criminals that got caught, did they get to see their costumes come to life?
I bet there were some watching from the prison cell. I made that.
They were betting prison cigarettes,
Prison cigarettes
on whether or not their villain would win. That was me before I got arrested. Go go go.
See that Black Knight outfit? I made that.
That just killed a guy.
That ball of tar? That was me some time ago, man. Look at my boy.
But yeah, just simply put, I really enjoyed that film.
You know,
as a kid. Maybe it's just the nostalgia goggles, but hey, seeing all those characters get reanimated in CGI, it was pretty cool for me.
You know, I kind of talked some shit in the beginning, but honestly, Scooby-Doo 2's alright. It's still C tier, but it's alright. They can't all be bangers.
Everyone's got their own opinion. Someone out there doesn't like Kung Fu Panda 2. Someone out there doesn't like Shrek 2. You're wrong, but that's okay. Because
we should kick
could also
these
be
people
wrong.
out. Hey, people that don't like Shrek 2, go sit with the math people.
The Vor people. We can't keep on kicking people out. We're going to have no one here.
There's already no one here.
Okay, well...
It's just us. Trevor, there's no one in this room.
The math people.
We don't have math people.
We do. They're sitting over there in the corner with the bags on their
heads. You
just
pointed at a wall.
Where are the Shrek 2 haters going?
To hell.
To hell. Tommy, what's your last pick?
So I hate to disappoint, because I should have said, speaking of hell, and gone into Hellboy 2. That would have been an awesome segue.
That would have been such a good segue.
But instead of that, the superhero sequel I want to talk about, Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2.
Not the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Not Sony Spider-Man 2. But
no.
Spider-Man 2. The film that was actually amazing. See what I did there? You see what I did there?
Lolled.
So funny. So, Spider-Man 3, it's the one with Emo Peter.
Yeah.
The one with too many villains.
The one that does the funny dance.
The one that does the funny dance. Everyone shits on that movie. I kind of like it, but everyone shits on that movie. Spider-Man 2, on the other hand, keeping with my theme of sequels that are better than the original, it's a complete step up from Spider-Man 1. Spider-Man 1 was awesome, and it was a funny comic book movie, and it was kind of revolutionary for its time, because at that point, I think just the X-Men 1 movie was out as far as superhero films. Mm-hmm. It was way before the MCU became mainstream, which is not a sentence I thought I'd utter when I was 10.
Such a shame, I know.
But yeah, no, Spider-Man 1, it ends with the death of Green Goblin, and Spider-Man 2, it picks right up there. Pete, he's having a crisis. He doesn't know if he wants to be a superhero or MJ's boyfriend. He starts losing his powers temporarily, and he gets his mojo back mid-movie. Otto Octavius is the perfect foil to Spider-Man. Because he's actually a good person. You know, he can't access that part of him because he's being, like, possessed by artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Which is the octopus arms. They're AI possessing him.
They control
Topical.
him. Roded.
There's an AI artist in his brain, and it's making him do things, like make the sun. Okay, the plot's a little iffy.
Yeah.
So they made
not
the sun
perfect. You
they
can
made
like
the
a
sun
not perfect movie.
the first time. And it almost blew up. And they were like, okay, the big brain AI inside Otto Octavius's arms were like, hey, it is our purpose. We were created to do this. So we're going to possess this human and make him do it, but better. We need more of this rare material, and we're going to make a bigger sun. It's sort of like a miniature solar battery. So it generates its own power, and it looks like a miniature sun. It's got like its own gravitational pull and shit. And, well, it's about to explode, but instead they submerge in the harbor, and there's an emotional moment where Otto, like, kills himself to save everyone.
Sag.
Mm-hmm. You know, it is such a good film.
Pretty good. I would put that in my C-tier category.
Really?
Yeah. I just wasn't the biggest superhero guy, necessarily. The trope didn't interest me as much. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, necessarily. It just didn't catch me in its net. Simply put.
Web.
Funny.
Look, you can't... We're talking about Spider-Man. You can't...
You can't skip on the web. Web joke. Funny.
Web joke.
Speaking of the web, we have to end our web talk here.
Wow. That
was a segue. You know who rides on Segways? Paul Blart 2.
We're not talking about Mall Cop.
Paul Blart 2.
Quick, we gotta end this before he starts talking about Mall Cop.
How do we end this? I'm getting the urge.
Hold on. Just before that happens, we usually have this moment at the end of the episode where we talk about, like, funny things for a second. It's like, hey, is there anything you want to add before we tune off?
Funny things. Anything to add? Let me think.
So we were playing competitive Overwatch
We
the
were
other
playing
night.
competitive Overwatch. So...
And this Torbjorn.
This Chad. First off, great DPS. He had like 20,000 damage.
He's juggling that.
He was out DPSing, or didn't we have like a soldier or something?
Look, it's just...
It doesn't matter.
You don't need to know.
Okay, basically he doubled the other DPS.
He was doing fine.
The thing is, while he was outdoing our DPS, and he also got play of the game, I'm pretty sure. He was...
You can quit adding details. That didn't happen. He also never had 20,000 damage. Just, come on. Out with it.
Okay. Enough giving the Torb head. So, the whole time while we were playing, there's a voice quip for Torbjorn, and he says,
You're making a chicken out of a feather.
And he just kept on repeating that.
Over
every
and over again.
Second. And it was so funny.
It was great.
Especially at the very end. Because, like, we lost. Whatever. I don't care because I was having fun. And, like, everything was fading out. And it was playing the Overwatch theme, you know, like, defeat. And, like, through that sound, I could just hear kind of quiet, you're making a chicken out of a feather. And I was just like...
Just a defiant Torbjorn shouting into the void. You're making a chicken out of a feather.
I wept unto my palmed hands for like 5 minutes, and then I had to get it back together because we were in round 2, and then he kept on doing it, so I kept on weeping.
We lost.
We lost so bad, and I did not care in the slightest. That Torb made my night.
I sent him a friend request. Bitch never responded.
Torb, if you're listening to this...
If you're out there making a chicken out of a feather, man.
Make a chicken out of a feather... and friend us, please.
Yes, please.
We'll be the feather to your chicken.
Okay.
And I'm complimentary, and he's mania.
I thought this was madness.
This is madness.
Good night.
Goodbye.